Episode 6, Interest Free. Big fish, little pond. On today's episode, I get to sit down with my guy, a man of many talents, a man who helped me navigate through the music industry, being from New York out in San Diego, a man who just seems to keep popping up. I wouldn't say popping up, a man that's everywhere, a man who has his hands in everything. My guy, D-Rock, aka Caliproduk. What's up, bro?
What's up, fam? That's a hell of an intro, man.
You know?
Appreciate it.
I gotta make you stand out, you know?
Yeah, appreciate it.
So let's get right into it.
Okay.
Professionally speaking, what do you do?
Professionally speaking, at this moment, man, I guess you can kind of call me the jack of all trades.
Okay.
I still got my hands in the music production, heavy, super tough with that. But outside of that, professionally, I do run a fish processing plant located in National City, where we're not too far from right now. And pretty much what I do there on a day-to-day basis is just oversee the shop's operations, making sure customers' fish are getting cut properly, they're packaged properly. We don't have just pretty much no errors, just flawless. We pride ourselves on customer service. So in a sense, I guess you can say I'm living my dream ultimately, doing what I love to do.
And what is your dream?
My dream was, as a child growing up, and many people may think it would be music. You would think it would be music, right? But those that know me, they know fishing is my first love, my first passion. Before I even knew I would do anything with music, I was fishing. I grew up fishing, and ultimately, my dream goal was to, get to a point where I have a family, and I can just fish, and enjoy time with my family and fish, and spend that time and do that with them. And that was it. Simple.
Exactly.
Simple.
Nice dream.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of fishing, does the same principles as hunting apply when fishing?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because there's cases, especially the type of fishing I do. Me, a lot of my guys, we do. You're in, there's certain cases where you're stalking the fish. You got to be stealthy. It requires a stealth approach. You got to creep up, and that's gonna make the difference between you catching that fish or even having a shot at being able to catch that fish, versus just pulling up, spooking away, and that opportunity's gone. You don't know when you're ever gonna see a fish of that magnitude again. Okay.
So was there a special moment or a person in your life that said, you should try this? This is something that is good for you?
I would say ultimately, what really set it in for me was I would contribute that to my grandfather. Okay. My grandfather, Jimmy. I remember my first time, I would say it was probably really my first time being on a boat even. And then my first time he took me down to Otay Lake. Okay. I was ruined. I was super hooked. I was into fishing then. I was trying to get into it, but I remember going down there that day with him and my aunt and just having the time of my life.
Right.
And just being out there and sharing that, being able to share that time with him meant even more, made it more special. And I was like, okay, it's just something I want to keep going. It was a family tradition. My grandmother's fish, my mom, just the whole side of my mom's family, everybody. It was just something we did as a family, on the weekends.
Okay. So I remember when my uncle took me and my brothers fishing, and I couldn't get it down. I was like, well, this is too boring for me. So we was upstate New York, and upstate New York, we have beers and stuff. So I was like, forget fishing, I'm gonna go look for a beer or something.
Yeah.
So that was my first introduction to fishing,
Okay, yeah.
So speaking of fishing, big business, the fishing industry, what does it consist of, and does it really equate to a big business?
Yeah, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry, especially when it comes to the aspect. So you have two sides. You have your saltwater side and you have your freshwater side. Okay. So on your saltwater side, you have the trophy hunters they're targeting big blue marlin, sailfish, big bluefin tuna. I don't know if you guys have seen the show Wicked Tuna, on the Discovery Channel. That alone, if you look at it from a commercial aspect, these guys are netting, $2,500, $4,000, $5,000 minimum per fish, one fish.
Right.
That's before it hits your table and it's turned into sushi, whatever you have it. So there's that aspect of it. Then you have, again, the sport side of it with charter boats. You know, you're paying, say, a long range trip, you're dropping $5,000 minimum, $5 to $10,000 per trip, just one person.
And does that even include the equipment, or that's just going out there?
In some cases, it's inclusive, but a lot of guys, you know, when you're doing it at that level, you got your gear, you know what you're doing, you've been doing it for a while. You're not forking out that amount of money, you know, to just go mess around. But, you know, it'll include your meals, things like that. So there are some benefits to it. But again, that just goes to show, you know, that's the level. And you're out there, you know, 8-16 days at a time, you know, just fishing, you know, doing what you love. And that's mostly where you see the retirees. And then business side, you got the tackle. You know, it costs. Hooks, weights, baits, all that costs. All those have different price points. My side, the freshwater side, big business, especially when it comes to the baits. Some of these baits we're throwing, they're upwards of $100 a pop to, you know, there's some baits that $400 or $500, you know, range. And yeah, you're tense every cast. You're like, you know, you break off, you go swimming for it. But that's just where it is. And then you think of tournaments. You know, tournaments. Some of these tournaments, they're $100,000. When some are the pot's bigger than that. But, you know, over the time, the entry fees. Pro level, average entry fee, you're paying $4,000 to $5,000, you know, per tournament. But you got sponsors in that kind of buffer out. And again, that's where that money goes to. Now you got advertisement, TV ads, all that aspect. So all that money, that revenue, and that equates and makes it bigger. Especially now, it's just like fishing is bigger than what it's been in I don't know how long. Again, like, you know, everybody's conception of it originally, oh, it's boring. Now it's grown. It's been televised more, and then just showing I think it's really more having social media. People are able to see, like, okay, there is a different side to it, you know, once you really get into it. I always tell people, hey, you come out with me, it's not boring. I'll show you a whole different side. You know, it's actually action-packed. It's fun. It's full of laughs, you know. There are days that's tough. It's like, you know, you're not always getting them. I don't care how good you are. Any pro tell you, like, yeah, we all have our bad days where, you know, we get skunked. But, you know, that's the best part about fishing is figuring it out.
Right, exactly. So, as you talk about fishing in the industry, I could tell this is something that you're passionate about, right?
Yes, sir.
What do you love most about fishing in the industry?
One thing I can really say that's the most and meaningful is the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the sisterhood. You know, you run in, there's always that one guy, one person. You may have a Karen, or the male Karen here and there, but for the most part, everybody's respectable towards each other. You know, there's all love. We all love doing this, especially if you go out on a big charter boat, man. Everybody, eventually, you get to know everybody on the boat, right? Over the course, if it's a 4-hour trip versus it's a 2-day trip, you end up, if you're a sociable person, you end up knowing everybody on the boat or talking to somebody at some point. So just that, because I love interacting and meeting new people, sharing experiences. So yeah, that's by far the most beneficial aspect of it.
Okay. So you're also a DJ. Can you compare the fishing industry versus the music industry?
And in some ways, in some ways, because again, it's very competitive, super competitive. You know, but that's what makes it great. You know, same with the music. That's what keeps it going, and it pushes artists and creatives to be better. Right. You know, still sharp and still, right? Exactly. So. Right. It definitely equates, again, just from that competitive level, even then when it comes to just high quality, just the way your presentation, the way you present yourself, the way you carry yourself. Again, you have your stars, and then you have your stars there, but then, you know, they're like the bad guys. They stand out. There's always some controversy following them, you know. You get the shady, you know, there's the shady side to it. Just like any business, there's a super shady side. But, you know, same way with the music industry, you learn how to navigate and avoid those shady situations.
So, in the music industry, you know, they have parties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do they have parties in the fishing industry, like big events like that?
Oh yeah. So there's one company. I don't want to name drop too much, but there's a company. that a couple of buddies post that for. Yeah, especially like the show I'm going to, the Pacific Coast Sport Fishing Show.
Okay.
Yeah, they usually have a pretty live after party.
Okay.
Yeah, those dudes are known for having some pretty wild parties. In between that, the event, there's a lot of vendor events. They do stuff to give back to the vendors in the community. So yeah, there is some fun aspect of it. Other than having personal friends that are really fishing big in the industry. They have birthdays or annual Halloween parties, and I'll appear and I'll DJ for it goes down, and it's cool to see all the fishermen get together and just hang in the party and outside off the water. It's dope.
So this is the last question about the music industry that's going to equate to fishing. You know how the music industry, you can even say any other industry, you have groupies. Are there groupies in the fishing industry?
Oh, hell yeah. There are groupies. Yeah. That's all I can say about that.
That's enough said.
There is groupies, females, males, and it just kind of comes. Like, again, it's like social media is, I guess you could say, to blame for that. Because, you get hot on fishing, like, oh, dude, that dude gets bit. He's getting them. Okay, hey, these companies are rocking with him. Oh, he knows this guy.
Right.
So, yeah, you.
Okay. Okay, good answer. So for me, therapy was something that I had to work on to basically heal myself from how I grew up. So my therapy was the gym, lifting weights, Do you feel like fishing is a form of therapy for yourself?
Big time. Big time. Like, you'll ever see me, every now and then you'll see me post, I might put on my note in IG, water therapy. Right. It's my therapy, especially, how I grew up. Ultimately, I guess I can start with this. Fishing saved my life.
Okay.
Real spill. Grew up around gangs, finding like all that, was involved in gangs, in that lifestyle. Seen a lot, done a lot, and like I told you, there's a lot of times and I feel like, I shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be having this conversation. But by the grace of God, I am.
Right.
And, having those opportunities to still be here, and I tell people, like, I definitely counted my blessings a long time ago. Right. Having certain situations, be able to get out of it and still be here. And was like, fishing was always in the back. Even when I was in the streets and doing what I was doing, I always went fishing. The homies would be mad at me.
Right.
Because I chose to go to the lake opposed to hanging out on the block. I'll be on the lake. That's the way I seen it. I'm going to fish all day. I'll come hang out on the block at night.
Right.
So,
right.
But again, just those traumas, losing loved ones, things like that. Like, that's my escape, is getting out on the water and just be able to tug on a fish or two. Sometimes it's not even about catching a fish. It's just getting out on the water and just being out in nature in the wind and just relax. This right here, relaxing.
Exactly. Okay. What species, type of fish do you like catching? What determines a good catch, and what do you do after you catch?
My favorite species, hands down, would be the largemouth bass, which is one of the most sought after fish in the world, especially from a trophy standpoint. I've caught a trophy largemouth. There's way larger than I caught. My personal best is a 10.8. Going about it, that was a 6-month grind. Again, hunting, chasing a fish of that size, that magnitude. I had buddies, they got 15, 17 pounders, but again, they were grinding it out for months. Some people, it's years before you get that. There's men, they're gonna die of old age that have never caught and seen a fish that big.
Right.
So it's just, once you do, man, it's definitely documented. You treasure, it's something special, and you let them go. I definitely practice catch and release, especially when it comes to the bass.
Okay.
Saltwater, it's fair game. Tuna, you guys are fair game. You guys are coming home. You guys are going to the shop. You're getting processed and vacuum sealed, and you're going in the freezer. The largemouth bass, it's always catch and release. There's some cases where, if there's certain seasons and we see the fish, they're all the same size, they're not grown, we're not seeing any trophies, There's a lot of bait they're competing. Then it's like, then we'll promote, okay, hey, it's okay if you guys start keeping a couple, because just kind of, it's like a population control thing. Because it's like you try to get the genetics straight, but you always let the big ones go. You never keep the big ones, the females. Let them go. They didn't get that big for a reason. And which is why, again, 6 months, it takes so long to catch one. They're so smart. They didn't seen it all. Again, that fish of that size, that fish is 15, 20 something years old. So it's seen every bait, every boat, everything you can throw at it, but there's just sometimes, okay, hey, the right presentation, you're there, you're quiet, it doesn't know you, it'll slip up.
Okay. So
Yes, got it.
they have a lot of shows about fishing, the dangers of fishing, the rewards of fishing. Have you ever did sport fishing?
Oh yeah. Again, I'd say my trophy would be 200-pound bluefin.
Crazy.
Caught last May. And yeah, that was in a way dangerous. Yeah, because there's people that have just gassed out, have had heart attacks. People have died at sea, or had to get life flighted out, from offshore, depending on how far you are. I can say that experience. Yeah, I literally felt like I was gonna die at one point. Just because I overexerted myself so hard on a fish that big and just pulling and just trying to hurry up and kill the fish itself and get it in the boat. It didn't hit me times where it was like, oh, after the adrenaline burns out, it was like, oh, dude, what's going on? I remember having to go down and lay down for an hour. Flip side to the dangers of fishing is let's promote safety. Most importantly is your personal flotation device. BFD, we have experienced losses in the community. Last year, recently, my boy, shout out to my boy, rest in peace, Mikey Reality, man, miss you, buddy. Went offshore. It was a hunter of game fish. Known and did it every time flawlessly, but this one occasion, he was out offshore, went out and didn't, for whatever reason, from what I learned, he didn't have his flotation device with him and some other safety equipment that should have been attached to his kayak. And he was doing it from a kayak, pretty much, a solo skiff. And it ended up capsizing, and he couldn't get right. And he was just too far offshore by the time they found him. He was gone. Ultimately, he passed.
Sorry for
then, thank you. And then, other side of that, it's just... just natural causes. Recently, I want to give a shout out to my boy Tom Troop. Rest in peace, Tom. Just recently lost a friend last weekend. Not fishing related, but I can say, man, I say that to say this is like my buddy passed away after doing what he loved to do. He got to get that one last trip, and he passed away, unfortunately, a few hours later, of cancer. So, I didn't say this, man. Stay on your health and love your family, your loved ones. It's important because we're not promised tomorrow anything we do. We see professional athletes tragically have situations. Actors is just that. More importantly, mental health. Check on your loved ones, man. What appears good sometimes may not be. All it takes is a phone call. Do more than reaching out on your Instagram or something like that.
Yeah, you're right about that. So right now, you spoke about the Lord says, does experience play a big role, or is this something come out of the wind and then,
Exactly. It's ultimately it's the Lord's decision. He knows, and that's a part of His plan. You can have all the experience in the world and still be unprepared.
Right. Okay. So mentally, how do you prepare before you hit the water?
Usually my mental check is like, I like to go out with a clear mind.
Okay.
I can't have anything, because it could be a case where something had me worked up that day prior to it. I don't want to take that energy out there with me, even though the case is to get away and let it go. But it's like, nah, I want to release that before I even hook my boat up to the truck.
Okay, all right.
My mindset is, dude, I'm tuning in, and it's safety first. So I go through my safety check, plugs in, life jackets in the boat, everything where it needs to be, everything's functioning properly, and then it's like gear. Okay, hey, it's setting up. It's like you're going on that hunting trip.
Yeah.
I got my rifle, make sure I got my ammo, I got, I got my hydration pack, I got everything set to do because I'm planning on being out.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. So you say you like to have like the right set of the right mind frame. Is there like a certain music you listen to, or is it like you talk with the universe or God and say, God, like help me prepare to hit the water, make it back home safe? Or are you like, yeah, I'm out here, I'm getting ready to go?
That's number one. Okay. Me and the big guy have that talk first. Right. You know, every trip. You know, it's always that I ask for that blessings, man, for a safe trip out, fun day, and a safe trip back home.
Exactly.
You know, and then it's, you know, then it's just going out there and let loose, and it's just, you know, my frame again. I'm just in the mindset of I'm gonna get them, because confidence plays a big part in fishing.
Okay.
If you don't have confidence in what you're throwing, like, you're not gonna get bit, because you're just sitting there. You may, by luck, one may grab it, but to consistently pull up to a spot, like I can look back here and know, like, okay, yeah, I can pull up next to that dock, and I'll rope 2-3 easily.
Okay.
And make it happen. Like, oh, okay, he wasn't playing.
Yeah.
So it's just being confident and knowing, you know.
Okay. So as a family man, is this something you want to pass down and share with your family, or is this something like, this is my hobby, this is my stuff, this is my world?
Nah, definitely, it's a family thing.
Okay.
You know, my household, wife, kids, everybody fishes. Okay. Grandkids, everybody gets it in. You know, I get phone calls, hey, can we go do this, Pops? Yeah. So yeah, and that's one of the best parts about it, because I know there's other people that don't have that dynamic, and it's hard for them to get out on the water. It's like, nah, wife says no, or, you know, I got all this going on with the kids. It's like, first of all, I always ask my, hey, you want to roll? Cool, she want to go, she's going to go. If not, she's like, nah, I'll stay, do that, you go do your thing. Right. Same with the kids. Nah, if they want to go, they go. If there's just plans, hey, family day, we're doing this, and we go out and we rip and have fun, laugh, and create those memories.
No,
right.
Leave it.
So, with that being said, you're a big fish in what you do. What are your plans or your goals for what you do in the fishing industry?
My plans are just to keep growing my brand, Caliproduk Outdoors. I got a merch line that I'm looking forward to dropping and putting out, line with the fishing essentials, and just really just tapping in with the right other brands and kind of just cross promoting, helping each other grow, because there's a lot of that in the industry too, and that's the best part. Which I guess you can say, kind of like the music industry, it's like this artist, okay, hey, you know what, I want to get him on a track, right? So, you know, it's just kind of keeping that going, but again, just making sure I align myself with the right people that have the same values, you know, and the same vision I have with this. Okay,
so before we go, let's talk a little bit about Caliproduk Outdoors. Okay. What does that consist of? Like, what got you started into that?
So that was pretty much, it branched off, came off the stage name Caliproduk. You know, me coming off a tour with Sham Black, just rocking that whole experience, and wanted to stay connected to the music, but still fish. And I'm like, okay, hey, how can I bring both of these worlds together? Right. So then it was like, okay, me and the bros did a mixtape years back where we rapped nothing about fishing. So it was like, you know what, and it kind of hit. So it was like, you know what, let me find a way to get back to that and do that, make that happen again. Right. And then, you know, we can go from there. So I released a project, Fish Hop, March 2024. That did good. I released another project last March, called My Boat, My Rules. Right. Got some new work, so every now and then I let people catch snippets of some new work, and I get the feedback, and that's what keeps me going. So with that, I align the music. I'm able to do that, attach it, because all the music it's just pure fishing. Okay. So the subject matter is pure fishing, no profanity, nothing. You know, it's just good vibes. Something that I call it motivational music. Okay. It's something that's gonna get you pumped when you go out on the water. And then the outdoor side was just capturing that visually, you know, with the content, shooting the content. Now I can bring you into my world. You can go on any of my social media pages, and if you're not physically out on the water with me, hey, you can at least go watching people video. You can get that point of view perspective of me hooking a fish, seeing, or just seeing what we're out in the water doing, and seeing what it's like, you know, in that world. And okay, yeah, this is different, and this is how they're having fun, and that's where the love and the passion keeps coming from.
I like that. That's dope. So this is Interest Free, episode 6, Big Fish, Little Pond. Usually when I close off, I have my guests leave us off with something motivating or positive. The floor is yours.
My motivational words would be keep going no matter what you're doing, no matter how heavy life may seem. There is a way. There's always light. Lean on God, lean on the Lord, pray. That's one of the best things you can do is pray. And if you don't find that working, find somebody that you can confide in, that you trust. Talk to them. Talk, get it off your chest. That's the best thing you can do, other than letting it fester up. Any dreams, goals, ambitions you have, go after them.
Right.
This time waits for no man. And especially where things are going down, things in the world, man, live it up, do it, go at it, man. Chase your passion, whatever your passion is live it. Find a way to do it, consume it, and make it happen. Do it more than just once on a regular. Like, make it a habit. Love yourself.
Right, exactly. So this is Interest Free, episode 6. I'm your host, Whidbee. That's D-Rock, a.k.a. Caliproduk, and we out.
Deuces.
Thank you, bro.
You're welcome, brother.
Dope.
That's dope.